and how those affect the therefore feeding practices in households in those areas. And we then also looked at Kajiado, and in Kajiado we also did the nutrition survey. We also looked at the feeding habits. The main issue when you compare 2018 and 2020, we were just looking at the trends in both Kajiado and in Nairobi. If you compare Kajiado and if you look at Kajiado, the trends in Kajiado are that wasting is worsening. There is a little bit of improvement in terms of underweight. Stunting is also a slight improvement. The challenge is that in Kajiado, because of the weather patterns and the climate, the seasons, it happens that many of the times, especially the time when we were there, the children end up feeding twice a day and on meals that are basically around milk and ugali, and that affects their weight, that affects their body mass, and therefore we noted wasting in Kajiado. That the overall trend is that if you look at Kajiado and you compare the rates in 2018 and 2020, you will see that underweight there's a slight improvement. In terms of stunting, there's a slight improvement, but wasting there is just a slight deterioration. Within the confidence intervals, yes, there is a slight deterioration. We in Kajiado, there is an urgent need for nutrition interventions so that we are able to address those high levels of wasting. In terms of meal frequency, only a third of those houses, households, have a minimum meal frequency. Only about 40%, at most 36%. So at most 4 out of 10 houses have minimum dietary diversity. There are gaps in complementary feeding. Like I mentioned earlier, only 2 meals, mainly around milk and ugali, contributing therefore to the issues around wasting that we spoke about. So if you compare the challenges in urban centers and you look at the challenges in rural areas, it shows to us that all across the country, we do need to be alert to the need for us to have sustained action around household food security, because the impact in urban centers and the impact in rural areas cannot be ignored. We cannot say that because of the urban economy, urban households are better off, and we cannot ignore the rural areas because their challenges are well known and well documented. And also the challenge we also noted, because we were looking at also at health-seeking behavior, which we didn't have the time to go into, was that there are challenges in terms of seeking help, making clinic visits, inadequate nutrition, attention to nutrition issues, and then because of that inability to seek for medical and support as quickly as should be the case, it then contributes to the malnutrition also among the children. This is a challenge in both the rural and also urban areas. And in the rural areas, we don't have this in the slide, but in the rural areas, the main reason around that is the distance to those health services and the challenges in being able to, sometimes because of weather issues, maybe it's too rainy, maybe the road is not accessible and so on. And maybe they think that this is not a serious issue and we can look at traditional methods of addressing the disease or the illness, plus the poverty contributes to the challenge in rural areas. In urban areas, mainly cost is the main factor, that the cost of seeking medical attention are a barrier, and therefore they stand in the way of speedy addressing of childhood disease illnesses, and then contribute to the higher nutrition levels. We recommend that to continue to sensitize the community, both in rural areas and urban areas. I think that in terms of sensitization and also working with the service providers so that they can then, as much as possible, reach out to those households in both rural and urban areas to be able to bring health services much closer and also nutrition education much closer, in addition to management of childhood diseases. And I think that would help us to be able to do so as we pay attention both to rural and urban areas. I think the main takeaway for us is to say that the attention to malnutrition, feeding practices, and issues around nutrition for children and young and infants needs to be comprehensive, paying attention to both rural areas and urban areas. And that if we are attention to the challenges that are also in urban areas, as we have been told earlier, there is increasing urbanization, we'll be able to reach a wider population of children and infants who are in need of our assistance, in need of stress, and therefore will benefit from malnutrition, nutrition and feeding interventions. That's in short our contribution to this discussion, and we are open now to take questions. I know that my colleague Lydia, who will take the hard questions, should be able to join us very soon, but I want to pause there.
Thank you very much, Munaweza. That was very interesting to see the differences in wasting, stunting, and the issues around malnutrition in both semi-urban as well as urban areas. If you're happy, Munaweza, then what I suggest is we hold on to the questions and get the next presentation done. In the meantime, can you please share your slides with the ECD Secretariat? So we make sure we have your slides for further work. So with that, can I ask you to stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, thanks.
And can we put on Lynn Izembe's slides on now? Lynn, if you're happy to go next.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please try to stick to the 5-minute time limit. Thank you.
Sure, I will.
Yes, I put up a clock. I don't know if you got it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, our work, myself, Lynn and Lorna, we tried to look at the aspect of rethinking childcare workforce through the human factor approach. And here what we did was to basically, you can move to the next slide, basically look at toddler needs. And the needs were categorized into various categories where a child needs fellowship, conversations, play, there's academic work, and lots of stimulating activities that can help the child to be able to be groomed better and go well. Now, out of the basic needs, also we have issues of toilet training, comfort, protection, safety, guidance, encouragement, lots of love, grace, compassionate. And our argument here was based on the fact that what do we have to do when we deal with how to deal with basic needs effectively. Now you realize that available research does reveal the provision of quality childcare services and how that actually contributes to lifelong health, psychological, educational, social development of the child. Now with that, we realize that every institution where a child is found and a child requires care requires and needs to know that there's need for people to develop a positive human factor. Why? Because it is the foundation of all the social, economic, political, legal institutions and any other institutions that are found in life. And we had a picture, I think you can go to slide number 5. That's where I am. I have a picture of the Human Factor Foundation serving as a social institution. We are basically saying and arguing that, sorry, irrespective of any institution, human support is very important, and that's where we are deriving our term, the human factor. What is it that you have that you can give? And so in the provision of childcare, we get to be mindful that we can only give that which we have. And when it comes to correction and helping the child to stay on track, we can only correct that which we are not guilty of. And so that's a picture, next slide, that's a picture that shows that all these institutions are literally supported by the human being. And so the key question that we asked ourselves was, what are the barriers to the provision of quality childcare? And looking at it from the human factor, our argument is based on the fact that desire and willingness of those who are rendering the service are critical factors in whatever we find ourselves to do. And so a positive human factor gives those characteristics to the point that those who possess positive human factor qualities have a greater edge over the others. And so as an individual, we need to be mindful that within this approach, we must get to have the moral capital, which is the sense of right and wrong, the aesthetic capital, the beauty of seeing a child grow, the human capital, the knowledge that we need to be able to guide that child, the abilities of those refers to the competences required for our performance, and then the potential talents that we are yet to tap in, and then the spiritual capital, the ability for you to connect to the God that you worship too. And so within our methodology, we just asked a simple question to the teachers and some of the child care providers, what they think, what challenges they think are faced by the workforce involved in childcare education, and what, in their opinion, they think are the root causes. Now, we got lots of various answers that stemmed from policies to dilapidated structures to lack of motivation. And the story goes on: poor training, child security issues, leadership inadequacies, inadequate resources. But when we categorized all these under the human factor model, we realized that it actually boils down to the individual. Because when it comes to child security, there is someone who is in charge of that person. When it comes to inadequate resources, someone has been assigned to provide those resources. When it comes to professional disparities, there's someone in charge of that. And if that person lacks the ability to be able to develop, or if the being in that person is full of moral values, that is what they will give. But if that being is full of something else, then they'll not be able to perform. And so within this, we're arguing that for us to be able to grow professionally, we must understand that our being has two directions: a direction where we can grow vices, or a direction where we can grow virtues. And that is also echoed in Napoleon Hill, who says that every human being possesses at least two distinct personalities, one that is destructive and one that is constructive. So for us to be able to guide the children and provide the welfare that we need, we're arguing that through the human factor transformational development education model, that child will only acquire the knowledge, and we can help them to think critically, we can help them to understand and apply the knowledge when we ourselves understand that it is important we develop a positive human factor in our work. So what's our way forward in this, as I wrap up? That the workforce that is involved in childcare must learn and continue to learn to provide long-term solutions to childcare challenges by learning, understanding, adopting, applying, and pursuing effective problem-solving approaches over and above their own personal efforts to develop a positive human factor. And that the workforce, we must be mindful of what we are being filled, or what our being is filled with, as well as understanding that the paths to our own personal and professional development. It is only when we get to that point that we can give that which can help the child grow effectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lynn. That's a very interesting take on the socio-ecological model and how we link that to our local practices. There's a very interesting question from Omolara in the chat. Lynn, please see if you can respond to that. Let's move on, Rachel, to our next presenter.
Okay.
Thank you, Umedo. You have 5 minutes beginning now. The role of ECD mentor coordinators in integrating nurturing care within our health systems, particularly with respect to Siaya. I'm sorry to say that we can't hear online. I don't know if you can hear locally. Okay. Thank you.
About enabling environment and system strengthening. The second objective is about improving nurturing care practices delivered at the health facility and community level. And the third objective is basically learning and evidence generation in terms of what is coming new as we do our program implementation. So the purpose of this assessment was in the background of the mentors that PATH supported the Siaya County to hire and integrate within their systems so that they can support nurturing care for ECD. And this was basically to provide technical support and coordination to ensure that issues of nurturing care are moving within the county, and also at the long run create appetite to be able to have this role as a formal role in the health system. And we supported hiring of 4 mentors to support this work in the year 2017, which they have supported very well and they continue to support. So in that background, we wanted to know if this role is creating or adding any substantial value and how best can it be sustained. And in that picture, you can see one of the mentor coordinators just supporting the healthcare providers in terms of OJT. So in the assessment specifically, we used a qualitative approach to conduct this assessment, where we had a variety of members interviewed through key informant interview. The sample size was basically 3 managers from the county, 6 managers from the sub-county. Those are the MOHs, and the 6 sub-county child health coordinators who are also doubling as the ECD coordinators at that point. And then community health volunteers and the community health assistants, 12 of them each. So with that, then we asked them some key questions on how the mentors were contributing to improving nurturing care. And majorly, some of the key findings that came out was on the areas of capacity building, strengthening capacity building, mentorship, and OJT to health facility providers and community health providers. This role also increased, we realized that increased visibility of child development issues in the facility and the community, and basically just enhancing integration of services to be in line with the other services. And one of the quotes from the interviews from a medical officer of health saying that mentor coordinator has been part and parcel of the health management team. Her role is well embedded and structured within our system. And that is some of the goals that we really wanted to achieve in ensuring that child health issues are supported. Some some of the key themes emerged in which areas they were supporting. One of them was on the area of management and systems. The other one was on the delivery of services at the facility. And the other theme was on the delivery of services at the community level. At the management level, coordination came out very well, as you can see, even from a quote from the medical officer of health for a sub-county that we support. In terms of integration at the health facility, they have supported capacity building and ensuring that ECD is integrated in close to 159 health facilities that PATH has been supporting in Siaya. That also came well as a service delivery point. At the community level...
Sorry, Mr. Omega, sorry to interrupt. Please, if you don't mind wrapping up in the next minute.
Okay, thank you. At the community level, integration was mainly supported by mentors in terms of training CHVs and supporting their work, as you can see in that picture. One key challenge or two challenges that came in was the overstretching of the mentors as they deliver their services, especially because of the large geographic areas that they needed to cover in Siaya. On to the recommendations, and as I conclude, basically we realized that this role has added a lot of value within the health system, and there is need for this to be integrated as one of the formal roles as we have in the health system, just like other coordinators, the child health coordinators, the SCASCOs, and etc. So this role is also very key and needs to be embedded. And also in terms of resourcing, there need to be also enough or adequate resource allocation so that they can be able to carry out activities very well. And I want to end there by thanking you and just saying that let us ensure that our children thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Omega. That was very interesting to look at the sensitivity around the workforce and how we respond to that. Can I please ask Mr. Munaweza to look at the chat and answer the question from Omolara? Rachel, who's next?
Oh, Chairman, the next presenter is Edith. Edith is here with us. She's walking up to set up the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you, Edith. You will take us from the morning into the afternoon. So we're very happy for that. Edith and colleagues are going to be presenting on testing means to scale early childhood development interventions in rural Kenya. This is an extremely important topic for us, as we know the things that do work in early childhood development, but scaling up those things sometimes is quite a challenge. So we look forward to your lessons, Edith, and for taking us into the afternoon. Asante.
Okay, the computer she's using is not compatible. I would advise that she just takes us through as we listen in the interest of time. So
yes, please. We
take
don't
us
need to
through.
wait for the presentation. Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Mwamba.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
As he helps me set up, my name is Edith Alu from Safe Water and AIDS Project, and I'm here with my colleagues, two colleagues here, and the rest of the colleagues are also attending virtually. I'll be taking us through our Msingi Bora parenting program that was implemented in Western Kenya. And we'll briefly touch base on how it was implemented, evaluated, and its cost effective. So the first question to pose is whether counties in Western Kenya need a parenting program. Of course, yes, they do. And that's the basic reason we are here today, to address some of the gaps that are already existing. So some of our answers came from the Mix and Frameworks report, and a few issues to address were under stimulation. We looked at the report revealed to us that stimulation was low in children, with about an average of 1.4 playthings and 3.3 stimulating activities in the past 3 days. Then under nutrition, dietary diversities were at an average of 3.1 out of the recommended 7 food categories. And of course, 23% from the report revealed to us that 23% of the children were stunted. Under health, of course, infections were high among children, and also maternal well-being and further engagement. There was also high spousal violence at 66%. Then parents and CHVs had also very little understanding and knowledge about understanding the need to talk and play with the young children right from birth. So what parenting programs did we use? So instead of setting up a whole new parenting program, we looked at 4 that existed, and out of which 3 had been very successful and effective in offering parental needs. And therefore, we chose to actually just expand on the responsive parenting, and this is where our focus was mainly. So I would also be discussing about important features of the program, Msingi Bora Parenting Program. So for our features, one of it was group use of groups, which is very powerful, as children and parents were able to meet. And at enrollment, the children were between ages of 6 and 36 months. So the program was delivered by community health volunteers, and there was a structured manual that was used and availed to the CHVs to conduct activities and discussions with parents and caregivers. The curriculum focused mostly on responsive stimulation, but also included nutrition, hygiene, and maternal well-being, which were also very key under the parenting program. So after our implementation, there were also 9 booster sessions every 2 months for 2 years to sustain the changes that had been made. Some families had only group sessions, while others had a mix of groups and home visits. We could see that better as I move on. Yeah, so we used a 5 poster message in our sessions. There was a large poster mention that basically highlighted 5 key messages, and revolving around hygiene, food, play, talk, and respect within the family, love and respect, which was also very, very key. And families were given small versions to take at home and remind them of the 5 key messages. So this is the manual we used, and it was translated in Swahili, Luo, and English. Why Luo and English? Because we are implementing in Homa Bay and Vihiga counties. And for Homa Bay, we use a Kiswahili version, while for Vihiga, we use Kiswahili version. So we had 16 group sessions every 2 weeks with parents, with 18 parents between 18 and child diets. We had structured descriptive set of 5 activities per 90 minutes. So within the 5 activities, we had activities rotating around the 5 key messages of play, talk, love, and respect for the caregivers and parents. Yeah, then CHVs also opened discussions with mothers about the practices. So what learning are there? What did we learn? So of course, at the beginning, there were rough patches at the start, because this was a totally new concept, even for the CHVs, who are the key delivery agents. So during the training, the content was new. The delivery format was also very, very new, and of course, it was also very difficult for some of the CHVs who are semi-literate to understand the content, and therefore there were lots of translations to make it more conversational. There was also too much talk at the beginning, and we improved over time to make it more action-oriented. So during the early sessions, of course, CHVs lacked confidence because, as I had mentioned earlier, knowledge scores were between 30 to 65%, generally about ECD. Then attendance also of the sessions were between 50 to 60%. And most parents required an incentives, and mostly we offered SOAP during the sessions. But over time, the CHVs gained confidence because we were able to give instant feedback during the sessions, and our staff were ready to provide coaching and continuous support to the CHVs. So after that, of course, over time, attendance also improved from the 50 to 60% to over 70 and 80% as parents saw value in the sessions. So,
Thank you very much. One more minute to wrap up, please.
Yes. So during our in-depth interviews after the interventions, there were a lot of acceptability. Attendance also improved. The group visits, parents preferred and children preferred the group visits. Then there was a lot of enactment of the key messages and practices. Yeah, so this is a table that shows parenting practices and how they were able to change at baseline and in comparison villages as compared to villages where we had them Singibora happening. And I think looking at the scores, it's very clear that there was a lot of growth and improvement amongst parenting practices in the Singibora wing. So also for the developmental scores, I think there was higher scores also during in the Msingibora wing than both cognitive scores and language were higher. So for more information, we can also refer to the article below. So direct and indirect costs were calculated, and it was proven to be more effective, and there were more economic returns of group-based parenting interventions to promote early childhood development. Yeah, I think that is the end of my presentation. These are just pictures drawn from our sessions with mothers and children, and CHVs coaching them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Edith. If you get a chance to see a computer and the Zoom link, maybe with Rachel, Debjit Sen has a very important question for you. I think you helping us think through the cost effectiveness as well as the intensity that is required to reach parents and caregivers through CHVs. So if you could look at Debjit's question and respond to that on Zoom, we'd really appreciate that. Rachel, I'm not sure if Dorcas is with us.
Okay. The presenter 2.25 is on the way, and she has requested that we do it in the afternoon. So that leaves us with the 2.21, reading at home. That's Dorcas Wepukulo. I don't know whether she's here or online.
I did write to her. Dorcas, are you online with us?
Okay, it seems she's not available. So in the interest of time, maybe you may want 1 or 2 questions to be asked. I know Oscar is on my neck and is showing me we are eating time for the next session. So Chair, over to you and see how to manage to finalize.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. I think there's 3 very important aspects that have come up, which I would like us to really now think through very clearly and take questions and or, if you like, points of clarification. The first really is the very clear importance of culture. And I think we've seen different contexts and different approaches that are there. The second is that our work over this morning and in this session is really telling us that we can establish a very good dialogue between global practices and local knowledge And that means that our work that we do moves forward to the international and to other regional and county communities. So we are very happy, for example, to be hosted in Siaya, and for some of us, unfortunately, not to be there today. And then, as we've just heard from Edith in the last presentation, we actually need to do some very hard work in terms of cost benefit and cost effectiveness interventions. We have different parenting programs, which work, which don't work, how much do they cost, what is the unit cost, how do we inform policy? And the last point I really want to make is that the ECD network is part of the African network, which is part of the global network, which is informed by the Sustainable Development Goals. And we know that if we intervene with children early enough through carers, their parents, through the workforce that look after children, we can really make quite a bit of a difference. So I'm taking those things away from the session today. Dr. Moma, if there are questions on the ground or those people that are online would like to put comments or questions in the chat, maybe we can take another 3 or 4 minutes, if that's okay. Please. So that question is directly to Munaweza. Munaweza, are you able to field that question, particularly from? Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't get your name clearly, but thank you very much for your question. I am also here with Lydia, so we will help each other. That yes, the studies were done before COVID. In fact, the one for Kajiado was done just before COVID hit us the way it did. And so there is the possibility that the circumstances have changed because of COVID-19. That is possible that the COVID-19 has brought additional factors that need to be considered. I believe, though, that the underlying dynamics are still the same, that we still need to pay attention to rural area and urban dynamics as we address issues around children and nutrition and feeding practices, and that there are differences in approaches because of different factors in rural and urban areas. I think that still remains, but I accept that the onset of COVID has put in an additional layer of challenges that need to be addressed. And of course, that's an area which we can explore further and share hopefully in future with yourselves the additional factors that have been brought in because of COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Munaweza. And to the questionnaire, you know, there was a very important Unicef report that has just been released. It's called The Direct and Indirect Effects of COVID-19. And it is really terrible reading. The number of unwanted teenage pregnancies has gone up significantly and projected to increase by another 20%. Malnutrition, which was the point the Munaweza's talk, is expected to go up by 35%, and services for those children that are most severely affected are expected to reduce by up to 80% in some regions. As Dr. Carroll mentioned to us in the presentation in the plenary this morning, this is extremely worrying. And this will affect maternal and child deaths, which are expected to increase and affect the halting of nutrition benefits and immunization. which is particularly the case in South Asia. I believe in East Africa, we're a little better. And for me, the most difficult thing is that we are going to see huge dropouts from primary education. And those children who are pre-primary, the early years children, who would not have entered school, may never ever enter school at all. So these are very worrying statistics, but as we heard in the morning as well from Professor Abu Bakr, we have some things we can do. We can intervene, we can do risk assessments. And as Dr. Omondi reminded us this morning, this is not somebody else's responsibility, it's all our responsibility. Are we really taking this seriously? So Dr. Teresa, if there are no more questions, I don't see any online either. Over to you to wrap up the session, please. Please go ahead. Thank you very much. That's a very critical point on the differentials we are seeing between urban, peri-urban, rural areas, and how do we become more equitable in our provision. Thank you very much. Dr. Moma, over to you. I believe we are really unpacking some of the very critical issues, and it's wonderful to see the work of colleagues that is adding to our knowledge. And we now really need to make sure that the links that we have between policy implementation, action, and the impact of our work and making sure that we reach all children becomes very importantly prioritized and strategized with the correct resource outlay. Thank you very much.
And I want to believe that all of them you have shared with the Secretariat to inform the report, the conference report. So we are behind time. We are now supposed to move to the next session, which is interesting, and which if we do not participate in that, then we had no reason to be here. And that is the session on county governments sharing on progress made in ECD. And MC, you will have to find time to give me 60 minutes that have been eaten by members who are in the groups. So I want to know how many counties are ready to share. We have a session today and tomorrow. I can see from the records that we had taken, we have Siaya, of course, the fact that we are here. Siaya, can I see the hand? Yes. We have Mombasa. Very good. We have Nairobi. Very good. We have Busia. Great. Turkana. Maybe they are in the other group, in the other breakaway rooms. Migori. Great. Kisumu. Wow. Embu. Embu. Ah, great. Two of them, that's a powerful one, eh? Muranga. Maybe they're in the other rooms. Homa Bay, and I was not even thinking. Anyway. Homa Bay. Bomet. I can see somebody from Turkana. Yes. Nyamira. Great. Then we have Kilifi. Wow. Nandi. Kajiado. Kajiado, they were here. Where are they? Okay, maybe they have gone the other wherever. Then Vihiga. Good. Then Bungoma. Is there a count we have not captured in this list that are present here? So I want to know how many could be online. Maybe technical team, you can check online. Those who are online, you can write on on the chat box so that Rachel, I think you are online. Yes. So check those who are online. Write them for me. Let them write the count they are representing, and if possible, even their names. Okay. So this is what we are going to do and what we have always done. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. You will come and tell us the strides that you have made in your account in relation to early childhood. That is, what programs do you have in relation to children's health, children's nutrition, children's protection, children's early learning opportunities or pre-primary education. We want to learn from each other so that by tomorrow, when we are going to vote which count we are moving to, we will vote the count we feel that they are doing something that all of us, the way we did it for Siaya, they are doing something that we really want to go and see, and then you become our host for the next conference, okay? So I want to start with our host. Who is presenting for our host, Siaya? Omiti is here. Okay, so CEC education. Okay, so we will skip that one. Then we move to the next one. Let me start. Who is ready? If we can start there, the better. Because if your heart tells you we must be I can see count number 1 being ready. You remember when we were in KU, when we were asking who is going to host that? Everybody said count number 1. So count number 1, come, your first 5 minutes. Who is going to be our timekeeper? You set the timings. Ukiona imefika 5, tutamstop. Who is going to be my timekeeper? You use your watch. Yes. Your name, please? Rollins Mugo is our timekeeper. The moment she starts speaking, please, we take notes. We stop her. So your 5 minutes, we'll start shortly, immediately pull up your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, you can start now. So you can set your time immediately she starts speaking.
Okay, the chairperson, early childhood ECD network for Kenya, CEC who are around, chief officers, other partners, and distinguished guests. Thank you for giving me the privilege to present on behalf of Mombasa County. And because we are County 001, I'd request you add me 1 more minute
so that I recognize the presence of our CECM, Mombasa County in charge of education, Dr. Seth Odongo. Yeah. Thank you for coming. Secondly, I'd like to say that Albert Einstein said that the world is a dangerous place to live in, not because the people are evil, but because of the people who do not do anything about it. So let me say what we are doing as a people of Mombasa. Since our last third national conference, there are 4 key programs that we have added to what we used to do. And if I'm given an opportunity of the milestones, I can present them all day, but because of time, I'll just present 4 key programs. That is, one is Mombasa Childcare Regulations 2021. The other one is on Mombasa Robotics program in ECD, Mombasa Stride program, and Mombasa Tayari ECD program. Now, the background. In our county, we have the Department of Education and ICT, which was established according in line with Schedule 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, that is 2010. Now, we work on FAD with the mandate of overseeing pre-primary education, village polytechnic, or in Mombasa we call them city polytechnics, because we realize that our youth, when we mention village polytechnics, most of them shun away. And then libraries, home and mastercraft centers, as well as childcare facilities. Now, on Mombasa Childcare Act 2016, actually the act was enacted by the County Assembly of Mombasa in the year 2016 to ensure 3 levels of childcare. That is on 3 spaces. We have teaching, learning, and care. So the act elaborates more on the 3, or focuses on the 3 areas. Now, when we talk about the care, it's established in 5 spaces. These 5 spaces are homes, we have schools, we have the school transport system, we have religious institutions and recreational facilities. So this care act, the Child Care Act, provides for the establishment of Safer Cities Board for the administration of the act. The Safer Cities are there to administer or to ensure that the act is implemented fully. So Mombasa County Government, with the technical support from Udhabiti, thumbs up, they have really supported us fully. We have reviewed the Child Care Act, the Child Care Regulations, with the view of operationalizing the Mombasa County Child Care Act of 2016. So we are in that process, and they have given us all the necessary support. The objective actually of the act is to provide for the requirements and registration of childcare facilities and their connected purposes. Secondly, is they shall come into operation upon publication in the Kenya Gazette, which we are expecting soon. It will appear in the Kenya Gazette. Now, the other program is on Mombasa ECD Robotics program, whereby the Department of Education and ICT, in collaboration with Google, Stanbic, Nation Media, and other partners, have successfully piloted early years robotics project in 6 ECD centers in the year for financial year 2020-21. So when you come there to Mombasa, you can come and benchmark on the 6 piloted ECD centers, which is fully operational. There are 6 fully fledged robotics laboratories, as I've said, with UB Tech kits and 55-inch smart television. It's a kind of a toolbox with all the necessary equipments or requirements. So the main objective is to nurture STEM. All of you are aware of what STEM means. STEM skills building robotics for kids at school. And the other one is to
1
to
minute.
expose,
1 minute
is to
remaining.
expose and ensure that the children interact with technology to provide firm foundation. Then the next program is the STRIDE program, which is the school transport system for children with disability, whereby we are able to register and capture the details of all the children or the beneficiaries in some few weeks ago. So these highlighted 3 key intervention areas for social protection. These 3 pillars are the unconditional cash transfers to help with school-related expenses, where the beneficiaries are supposed to get some stipend of every month from maybe some few weeks to come. And then also to improve school transport system, which we have already procured for this CWD bus, and capacity strengthening for the county government social sectors. Then on STRIDE, it combines social protection and education intervention to be able to improve learning, inclusivity, and other development outcomes for CWDs for the entire Mombasa County, ECD centers, and grade schools. Now, I've already explained that we have done the identification, and the cash transfers is to be done in a few weeks' time. Then on ECD Tayari program, where the Ministry of Education had a successful pilot project in 4 counties, but due to financial constraints, they were not able to move to other various counties. So the county government of Mombasa has approached an international partner known as AIDU, whereby they have accepted to fully support the rollout of the program in 2022.
Thank
But now,
you. Thank you.
In summary, allow me 1 minute, is that the county has employed 232 ECD teachers in job group H and J, where they are paid more than any other county in Kenya. Number 2, they have supplied teaching and learning materials in our public schools. Then distribution of masks and hand wash stations in all the public ECD centers. Daily distribution of school milk, where we are the number 1 after Brazil, to distribute milk on daily basis. We have construction of 15 ECD centers, and with each 4 classrooms, administration block, washrooms, ECD sports. We have the music competitions in all the sub-counties.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
We
you.
have also done conducted
County
elections
number
with
1.
POMs. Can you clap
Asante
for us?
sana. Give them a clap.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I want to say my apologies.
Yeah.
You were only presenting to group number 1 because, you know, we moved physically into this session. I didn't know we were to stop so that all the others can join the plenary. So for those of us who are online, apology, and now you can disengage from this group and then you join the plenary. Thank you so much, and give them a round of applause. So let us wait for the technical team to advise us when we are going to have, when we are all on plenary, so that we can okay, the counties we had is Siaya. This is which county? Nairobi. Okay, we have Nairobi. You can be setting up, and you tell us when we are on the, when we are now on plenary. We have Nairobi. Do we have Busia? You are present? Yes, Busia is here.